Good evening. My name is Jim Beal. I'm with the Fairfax County Department of Transportation. I want to welcome you to this meeting to discuss the Route 28 Centerville Road Widening Project. Before we begin, I'd like to review some guidelines so everyone can participate and get the most out of this meeting. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube and then linked to the Route 28 project webpage. Microsoft Teams does offer a live captioning service. You can find that under the menu bar at the top. Where you will see three dots. If you hover over those three dots, it will say more options. Click on that and scroll down to turn on the live captioning command. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce Supervisor Kathy Smith from the Sully District to open this meeting with some brief remarks.
Thank you, Jim. I am so excited about this project. I know it's going to help people's quality of life. So I think it's great that we're here. We're going to get an update, and through the process, we'll keep the public informed about all the improvements that are going to be made. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Henson, could you start sharing your screen, please? There we go. I'd like to make a few other introductions. Supervisor Pat Harity from the Springfield District could not be with us tonight, but Peyton Onks from his office is here with us. Also here tonight from Fairfax County are Tom Bashadny, who's the Director of the Fairfax County Department of Transportation, Todd Minix, FCDOT Transportation Design Division, Leticia Turner, who's a Senior Engineer with FCDOT, Dennis Cate, the Director of the Land Acquisition Division in the Fairfax County Department of Public Works and Environmental Services, Mohammed Najib, also with the Land Acquisition Division. Trevor Hinson from Shirley Contracting, who was Shirley's project manager for the Route 28 Design Build project, is also here tonight. Next slide, please. You're welcome to submit questions using the chat function at any time. We'll answer questions at the end of the presentation. We'll do our best to answer all the questions while also ensuring that we get to all participants. If we run out of time, our team will follow up with participants individually after the meeting, or we may post questions and answers on the project webpage. Please note that your submissions to the chat will be part of the public record for this meeting. If you're on the phone, please hold your questions to the end. Phone participants can press *5 to raise and lower their hands, and will then be called upon by the host, and the caller will press *6 to unmute and mute themselves. We'll repeat these instructions on how to ask questions at the conclusion of the presentation. We also encourage you to submit your comments to this meeting using the online feedback form on the project webpage, written feedback or a phone call, and we'll have addresses for all of these for you at the end of the presentation. The purpose of our meeting tonight is to update the community on the status of the widening of the Route 28 from the Prince William County, Fairfax County line to Route 29, and to provide information to stakeholders on upcoming construction activities and lane shifts, construction phasing, the project schedule, and the land acquisition schedule and process that we'll be going through. Our agenda is first to look at the project and schedule overview, to discuss current construction activities and anticipated activities in the next 6 months, to talk about the land acquisition process, and finally, to answer any comments or questions that you all may have. The Route 28 widening project has a total budget of $78.8 million. This includes right-of-way, construction, inspection, and administration. The project will construct an additional through lane in each direction to provide 3 lanes in each direction from just north of the bridge over Bull Run, north to the Route 29 interchange. We'll also reconstruct substandard crest vertical alignments on southbound Route 28 to meet current design standards and provide greater driver visibility. This will occur on southbound Route 28 between Compton Road and Bradenton Drive, and also on southbound 28 just south of New Braddock Road. We'll also include shared use paths on both sides of Route 28, all the way from just north of the bridge to Route 29. There's a short section of sidewalk in lieu of a shared use path on the southbound side of 28 between Upper Ridge Drive and Mackin Road due to right-of-way constraints. If you've been on any previous meetings, you've seen this drawing. This is an overview of the project. We're widening all the way from the Bull Run Bridge, the Prince William Fairfax County line here. The northbound transition from 2 lanes to 3 lanes will begin just north of the Bull Run Bridge, and will widen from 2 lanes to 3 lanes from here all the way north to just north of Upper Ridge Drive, just south of the Route 29 interchange. On the southbound side, there are existing 3 lanes southbound from Route 29 down to New Braddock, and we'll leave that in place. And then we'll be widening from there all the way south to just north of the Bull Run Bridge from 2 lanes to 3 lanes. The transition from 3 to 2 lanes will be provided just north of the Bull Run Bridge. At this time, I'm going to turn this over to Tripper Henson with Shirley, who's going to continue the presentation and talk about the ongoing design and construction. Tripper, thank you.
Thanks, Jim. As Jim alluded to, I'm Tripper Henson, Shirley Contracting Design Build Project Manager. Some of you folks maybe have attended previous meetings. Some of this will be a little bit repetitive from previous meetings, but wanted to give a quick update of where we are, what you guys are seeing on the project, and a few things moving forward. The project, as Jim just explained, starts at the Prince William Fairfax County line. The job from a sequencing standpoint is really broken into 2 major areas. We refer to Area 1 as the southern limits, up to the Green Trails Old Mill intersection. In these graphics here, the northbound lanes would be the right-hand side of the screen, and southbound lanes, of course, on the left-hand side. The intention of these graphics is really just explain and give some representation to what we are currently building. We are currently in stage 1B, and the bulk of the work that everyone has seen to date is, in fact, in Area 1, primarily south and north of the Compton Road intersection. The first areas of work, as shown in step 1 and step 2 there in stage 1B, are for the most part widenings to the east in both directions. So for southbound, that'd be to the median, and then northbound to the right-hand side. There's a mix of work behind barrier and behind long-term barrel and lane closures, primarily on the southern limits of the job. As we get the widenings constructed and built, there are some asphalt overlays prepared in the next stage, which is stage 2 and depicted there on the bottom of the screen. I know we've received some previous questions about the overlay operations, which have already occurred on the project. We saw some substandard existing pavement conditions, wanted to address those early on. And the intention there was to do some of the overlay early on the project, give everybody a better product during the construction season, and try and limit the amount of potholing that we see through the winter months. So what has been done earlier in the year was not to waste. That will not be removed and replaced. It was really just getting a head start on some of the stage 2 work that we could get to. Moving on to Area 2, basically from Green Trails to the northern limits of the job, up near McDonald's and Burger King, up at the Upper Ridge intersection, just before the 29 interchange. The primary areas of work in this area will be to the median. That is intentional, as there are limited right-of-way and utility predecessors to that work happening. We can go to work in the median earlier. Up in those areas, you will see, and I'll go through kind of a 6-month look ahead here in a bit, but you will see some increased activity on the northern limits of the job here soon, for those folks that are driving through the job on a regular basis. A little bit about where we've been and where we're headed from a big picture standpoint. The red are completed activities, or status portions of the project. Well before Shirley was awarded the project, there was, of course, the Fairfax County design public hearing and NEPA document process of the project that happened back in 2019. We were awarded the contract in spring of 2020, and since then have been primarily working through design and permitting and some of the preliminary construction activities that you guys have seen. The advanced temporary shoulder work, early spring, late winter, we did some temporary shoulder strengthening, basically to give traffic enough room to shift and set barrier to allow the work zone to be opened up to construction crews. That work is completed, barriers set, and as I mentioned, we've done some preliminary mill and overlay and put a fresh 2-inch lift of IM asphalt out there, which is what everybody's riding on today. We have recently, earlier this month, received 100% plan approval, which allows us to continue working in some of the other areas and keep the project moving as a design build project, where both the design and construction is in our scope. We're constantly trying to get to the finish line sooner, and working where we can while design is finalized. So that's how we've been out here working, getting work completed prior to 100% plan approval. Right-of-way acquisitions, which we'll talk about here in a little bit from a big picture standpoint, but we broke the right-of-way acquisition into 2 large chunks. There are 4 advanced parcels, I'm sorry, associated with stormwater management. That is already underway for those 4 parcels. The remainder of right-of-way acquisition will continue later this year and into next year, and we'll talk a little bit about that here in a bit. Permanent roadway widening, that is what is underway, as I mentioned, primarily on the southern end of the job. That will continue certainly throughout the project, slated to be substantially complete fall of 23. Another big element of the project that I know is of interest to the adjacent property owners, noise barrier construction. If you were a part of the previous public meeting, we discussed in detail the noise barrier voting process. We are currently going through the design revision process to incorporate all noise barriers as the noise study shows, and those will be hoping to get started with construction summer of next year. And then I've got substantial completion fall of 23 and final completion winter 23 into 24 is what we're currently projecting. Upcoming activities, I've kind of touched on some of these a bit, but just a little bit of a look ahead. We will continue with storm drainage installation primarily along Route 28. We do have a significant amount of storm drainage on the side streets, but the bulk of the project will be primarily concentrated along the 28 corridor. Excavation and roadway widening, as I alluded to, will continue throughout. Very shortly upcoming, you will see additional temporary barrier placement from Green Trails to Upper Ridge. That will be in the median to open up those work areas and safely allow both for the traveling public and construction vehicles and access into the median. Upcoming, we are placing roadway aggregate and pavement section as we speak for the Route 28 northbound to Compton Road East new turn lane and ramp. That work will open up that ramp as an early traffic shift. Really, people won't move very far, but that will open up some permanent signal construction, which is located in today's ramp. So we've got to do a traffic shift over there to open up that work. That will roll into other permanent signal construction for all 5 signalized intersections, as well as once we get up further to the north, we'll do some additional clearing and grubbing. And as those pond parcels that I mentioned early on are acquired and opened up, you'll see some pond construction on the 3 above ground stormwater management facilities. I know that's a very quick and dirty look ahead, but that's the new activities we've got coming up. Just a little bit about what to expect during construction. The project has a very tight footprint. There's limited amount of work that can be done without lane closures. Primarily on the southern end of the job, we've been doing lane closures, not every day, but significant durations worth of lane closures. Those are, of course, at off-peak hours, the best that we can. We know that the commuter traffic is a challenge throughout the corridor, and really that's the whole reason we're here, to widen the road. So we have done everything we can to minimize the amount of time we need out in the road, but those are the lane closures just for reference, and the time restrictions that we're held to. There is also night work, which has been ongoing, and we're done with the first phase of night work, but we are trying at the best we can to limit the amount of night work. Primarily, night work will be utilized for storm crossings of existing Route 28, as well as asphalt and pavement operations, which are in the existing lanes of 28. The effects of doing that work during the day just are unrealistic to the traveling public, so that work really needs to happen at night. But as I mentioned, you know, we're doing the best we can to minimize the amount of night work. We do have a noise waiver as a part of the county regulations for working at night. That allows us to do what we need to do. We have done everything we can to minimize the noise creating activities and try and do those during the day whenever possible. The noise, the night work on the project is not going to be an extreme duration. We are going to work, you know, in small locations as needed. Where these storm crossings actually do occur, we've completed 4 south of Compton Road, and really we're going to primarily just work at night when we need to in those prospective areas, and then move on to the next one and to the next one. So I apologize in advance if we're working adjacent to everybody's house. Hopefully the impact is minimal and for a short duration, or relatively short duration, and we'll move on to the next one and continue on down the road. There's some contact information down at the end of the presentation, but everyone can always reach out to Jim and myself if there's any specific questions on why something needs to be done at night, but it really comes down to safety. We are constantly looking for ways to minimize the noise impact at night. We all know everybody wants to be sleeping, not hearing us beating and banging. So that's just a little bit about construction. Moving into right-of-way, which is another big thing that we wanted to talk through today at this meeting, or tonight at this meeting. I'm not going to walk through this in detail, but there are a number of right-of-way parcels which are affected by the project, some of which are total takes, and we use that term as the entire parcel or significant amount of the parcel is part of the acquisition. Those are the advanced parcels, which I mentioned and are already underway as a result of the stormwater management ponds. There are adjacent or many other right-of-way acquisitions required, whether it's small slivers of land for widenings, or easements, whether it's a construction easement just for us to physically have the room to build the project, or the widening, or the sound wall, or a utility easement for those facilities to be moved out of their current location, which is in conflict with the road construction activities. It is worth noting there's no demolition or removal of residential or commercial buildings as a part of the project, which is always a goal from the beginning of the procurement process. I am going to temporarily stop sharing my screen and take everybody to let's see here, the county website. Hopefully everybody can still see my screen, and now we see the website. There's a link on the PowerPoint which will be shared, but I just wanted to kind of walk everybody through how to get to the right-of-way plans, we had the data sheet originally shown on the PowerPoint, but it's very tough to read. This current right-of-way plans link takes you to the current set of right-of-way drawings. A lot of you guys may be asking, you know, is my property one of the properties which will be affected by the project? I promise it'll load quicker for you guys. I already have it loaded here, just in case. But sheet 1C, if I can get there.
It's the third or fourth sheet down.
Right-of-way data sheet. This is the summary sheet which identifies all the parcels on the project. Now, just because the parcel is identified on the sheet doesn't mean that it is acquired or part of the acquisition plan. But you can see here parcel, landowner name, and some of them are multiple parcels with the same landowner, such as the HOAs. This kind of gives a breakdown, and this is the basis of the acquisition and what is needed for the project. Jim, I think you wanted to kind of talk through the information on this sheet a little bit, not to put you on the spot, but
if you can blow this up a little bit. There's an echo on. I'm not sure.
here,
You got at the top the parcel number, and we'll show you where that is on the plans in a minute. The landowner, the sheet number, and again, we'll show you that. The GPIN is the county tax map number that every parcel has. Total area is either acres or square feet of the total area of the property of that parcel. Fee taking is right away that the county will be purchasing for the project. And this is land that we will buy and compensate the landowners for. Prescriptive right-of-way we're not using. The fee remainder is the amount of land that remains in the parcel once that fee taking has been made. So this is land that the project will actually buy from the landowners. The easements are areas that we are acquiring the right to build something on and to install facilities on. And this is land that remains the property owners, but we're putting facilities on. Permanent easements are just what it sounds like. These are where we're putting in usually storm sewers on, and we have a permanent easement that lets us go in and maintain those. Utility easements are similar. We'll be putting in utilities, or the utilities will be putting in facilities, and they have the right to come in and maintain that. Temporary easements are areas primarily that are used that we need to get into the property and do grading or just need area to work. And that temporary easement is only in effect while the construction is underway, and then the easement is no longer valid after construction is done. Tripper, if you can scroll down to the first plan sheet. And if you look, I'm looking for a parcel number on here. And I don't know if we got it. It may be on the second sheet. Here, there we go. You can see the numbers with the circles 001, 002. Those are the reference numbers for the right-of-way data sheet. The tax map numbers are also there. And then scroll down to the lower right corner, please, Tripper. And that's the sheet number, and that's also referenced on the data sheet. So you'll be able to look at these and find your property. What I'd ask, or what I'd offer tonight, I would be glad to, if you have questions on your property, you can email me or call me. I can send you a copy of the drawing where your property is, and either point out what the easements are needed, or we can call and talk through what's on the plans and what it is that's going to be taken for the project. But I think that'd be probably easier than trying to answer questions on specific right-of-way issues tonight.
Anything else you wanted to highlight, Jim?
No, I think that's good.
Okay. Well, let me throw the presentation back on really quick. Okay, so I just wanted to throw a few quick bullet points, and as Jim alluded to, you know, specific questions about your parcel. Jim or myself would be happy to take offline. Our contact info is on the next slide, but just a little bit of what to expect as far as the next steps. Diversified Property Services is a subcontractor working for Shirley Contracting. They are our right-of-way subcontractor. They would be the next person that you would likely hear from if it isn't Jim or myself. If your property is one of the parcels in which the project is acquiring land from. Upon right-of-way authorization from both VDOT and FCDOT, an offer package will be presented to you for the property. As part of that offer package, there's a number of items, but the appraisal of the property, right-of-way entry or right of entry, which I'll talk to in the next bullet point, all of that information will be provided. If there's any questions or anything supplemental requested, you will be given a POC at Diversified to talk through with that process. Until the property is acquired or a right of entry is executed, no Shirley representatives will be able to access your private property. I know through the preliminary steps of the project, some properties would have already gone through a right of entry for the design portion of that work, whether it was survey or that sort of thing. But no construction activities will certainly be happening on anyone's property until either a right of entry is acquired or the property is acquired. Just a little bit about right of entry. Right of entry allows construction to continue while negotiations are continuing through the process. It's a good way to keep the project moving and getting everybody a usable function of the roadway while we work through the details of the specific acquisition on your property. And as I mentioned, that right of entry standard documentation will be part of the offer package that everybody's presented. A common question that we receive on projects, you know, as we get close to working adjacent to everyone's property, everyone will see white survey ribbon. White survey ribbon indicates limits of disturbance. That is the limits in which construction activities will go. If the entirety of the limits of disturbance are within existing right-of-way or right-of-way that is already acquired, you will only see white ribbon. In the event that our limits of disturbance go outside of today's right-of-way, there may be some orange ribbon shown. That is today's authorization for my construction crews to be able to access. And that alludes to there's future acquisition in that property. So if there's a 10-foot sliver of land which the project is acquiring, today's right-of-way will be shown with orange ribbon in that area of which property is to be acquired. I know that's a little bit tough to talk to, but like I've said, if you see some ribbon out on your property and have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. So that's just a little bit of kind of what to expect moving forward from the right-of-way procedural standpoint. On this slide here are Jim and myself's contact information, another link to the county website. I know this presentation will be posted on the county website. I've found myself just Googling Route 28 Fairfax County widening, and it's the first link that pops up and takes you right to it. So with that being said, I don't know, Jim, if you had anything else you wanted hit on?
I think that's it. Tripper, leave that last slide up. We're going to take questions and comments now. We'd ask that if you have a question, please type it into the chat. I'll read the question aloud. If you're dialing in and you have a question, press *5 to raise your hand. When we call on you, you'll need to press *6 to unmute yourself. Right now, we have no questions in the chat yet. I want to add, please do feel free to call either Tripper or me at any time. Call or email if you've got questions. We'll get back to you as soon as we can, and we'll try to answer them. We'll leave this open for 5 minutes or so in case anyone has questions, or either that you want to put in the chat or if you want to call in and ask. So we will be here for a while. I'm going to give folks another minute, but if anybody has a question, please ask. If again, feel free to call Tripper or myself if you've got any questions. Want to just add for anyone that's on the phone, the county website is fairfaxcounty.gov/transportation/route-widening. And we do have a place there that you can put in comments, or you can send comments directly to me. I think we're going to conclude our meeting. I want to thank everybody for attending, and I'll look forward to hearing from you. A recording of this meeting will be available on the project webpage in the next day or so. We do thank you for joining us. We appreciate your time and your participation. Thank you very much.